You think about movements such as the Underground Railroad or the Civil Rights Movement. A lot of times you hear a lot of myths, right? I heard a myth recently that there was some woman that taught Harriet Tubman how to recognize a North Star. I'm like, can black people just have something to ourselves, you know? And you oftentimes have people who feel as if they have to constantly inject themselves into the narrative. You know, the same thing with what I mentioned about the building of the pyramids. You know, it's obvious who built the pyramids. Egypt is in the middle of Africa. Egypt means the land of the burnt faces. The original name of Egypt is Kemet, which means the black land, and it's not talking about soil. But yet, when you look at the iconography and the images and stuff, you see people who don't look like they're from Egypt at all. Or with the archaeological findings and stuff, and even the stone reliefs that show you who the Egyptians actually are. Some people will look at that and they're so committed to their ideology of white supremacy that if they can't say they did it, they're going to say ancient aliens did it. Now, I haven't heard the ancient aliens theory with the Underground Railroad yet, but I'm sure it's coming somewhere in the future with the myths that are shared about what's going on, right? So a part of this process and this journey of education is also unlearning a lot of the things that we were taught about ourselves and about each other. And this focus on the bicentennial of Harriet Tubman is a good starting point in terms of learning a little bit more about an extraordinary woman who did things that were beyond human capacity. And I speak to the ability to do things beyond human capacity because it also gives you insight into the type of God that enslaved people were connected to. Not that white man's God, but the God that they reached into their inner recesses and connected with, that allowed them to have the wisdom, strength, and beauty to not just endure, not just to display resilience, but to be evidence even today as what is known as anti-fragility. You know, for those of you who are not familiar with anti-fragility, if you were to break a bone, usually that bone heals and becomes stronger than what it originally was. That's who I represent in terms of my people who traveled here to the wilderness of North America and who went through the Great Mayafo or the transatlantic slave trade and worked on those plantations in the South and eventually escaped.